What is going on? Welcome back. Third and 20 podcast, episode 69. Nice.
Nice.
My name is Frank Entwistle. We got Mr. Steed here. What's going on, Steed? How you doing?
Dude, doing pretty solid. Actually, I think this is one of the better weeks for Atlanta sports history in a long time. Falcons won, Braves move on to NLCS. Like, the hell's going on? So, we're doing good. And I don't get to worry about the Falcons this weekend because we got to buy. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, good luck to your Braves. I'm not really watching any baseball, so I don't know what's going on. I'm assuming they're doing pretty well then.
yeah, if we get past this round, we'll be in the World Series.
Oh shit. All right. Good for you. Good for you.
And on top of that, dude, if we somehow won, I'm going back to Vegas to cash out my ticket. I put $300 on them to win the World Series back in March. Pays out 42 hundo.
Oh man. Okay. Okay. So you definitely got some skin in the game then.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be crazy, but I just rather the team win. But I mean, other than that, it was a pretty crazy weekend for just like in football in general.
Yeah, so let's get into it. One of the biggest games, probably the biggest game, or one of the two, Iowa against Penn State. This was a really interesting game. This is a game that the spread was like 2.5. Iowa was home. Iowa ended up winning 23-20 against Penn State. And I think you can definitely point to Sean Clifford, the Penn State quarterback, getting hurt as one of the major reasons why Penn State ended up losing this football game.
Yeah,
But at the same time, I have to give a shout out to the Iowa coaching staff because I think that they just kind of did a better job than the Penn State coaching staff, and they went out and they executed really well. They played their brand of football to a T. And I think that the first drive kind of shows you how Iowa has played this year and why they are ranked right now. They're two in the country, number two or
yeah.
number three.
They're two. Cincinnati's three.
You just look at the first drive of the game, right? They go 3 and out. They get a punt down, really great punt coverage to the 2 yard line, and end up getting a pick at like the 6 yard line. Penn State tries to just first play of the game, right? The crowd's going crazy. They try to do like a little rollout to the left, what looked like a smash concept, trying to high low the a corner on the left side. They were playing quarter, quarter, half. So you had kind of two deep players and then that intermediate hook to curl player.
Yeah.
And they covered it perfectly. But because they had that punt downed at the 2 yard line with really good punt coverage, Sean Clifford, instead of just taking a sack, which he probably would have done if he was at the 25 yard line, it ends up, he's trying to get the ball out. So it's not a safety. They end up getting a pick, didn't cash in, but they get 3 points. And then all of a sudden, you have all that momentum and everything. And I think in general, the um the Iowa game plan was just really good. They doubled Jahan Dotson a lot of the game. They had a bracket on him over under so that they would try to mitigate what he would do vertically down the field. They actually threw 2 interceptions, Penn State, trying to hit Dotson stretching the field. And I honestly think that Penn State was just the better team. The quarterback getting injured stinks, but dude, at the end of the day, they came in, they executed, and they won the game.
Yeah. Well, when this leading up to this game, this is how I kind of envisioned it being low scoring. It's going to come to a nitty gritty, like very end. Now, Penn State seemed like they were in control most of this game pre like Sean Clifford injury. Like, does that mean they still win the game? I'm not entirely too sure because I mean, Iowa did have like, you know, we're playing at home. But I think like if you're a Penn State fan, it's like it's a big if, right? Like this loss is not bad because you lost to now the number two team in the country by 3 points. But you just got to think like if this is the reason that kicks you out of the four teams in the playoffs is Sean Clifford goes down there in that second half of the game, that kind of sucks.
Well, see, the other thing too, though, because like you can like Sean Clifford being out was huge in the second half because Iowa kind of just figured out by the fourth quarter that their backup quarterback, Penn State's backup quarterback,
Sucks.
couldn't handle the rush.
Mhm.
They would just because a lot of the game they were sitting back playing that cover six buzz a lot of the game. just sitting in zone, so that Jahan Dotson and a lot of these Penn State receivers couldn't just win them the game, right? They wanted to make Penn State dink and dunk the football all the way down the field and force them to kind of just be consistent over and over and over again.
Hmm.
Um, and then once they kind of figured out, hey, this new quarterback, A, he half of his production is going to be running, and B, if we just send the house, he's not going to do anything. Penn State wasn't able to move the ball at all. The thing though is that even with the backup quarterback, Penn State was just a better team. Iowa couldn't consistently move the football the entire game. They had like one good drive the entire game, and the rest of their production was just on kind of chunk plays.
Hmm.
Um, they had one. There was like a curl route to number 6 on the left sideline late in the game. He broke like 4 tackles, getting 40 yards. Penn State stops him in the red zone. That Penn State defense is ridiculous,
Yeah, it's still
but it
really.
leads to 3 points. They could have, if you just tackle, probably isn't points on the board. And then the go ahead touchdown for Iowa is just really sick play design by the Iowa coaches. They had a play action boot to the right, and generally speaking, when you do that, you have all the receivers on the left side of the field kind of go over in a flood so that you're hitting every level of the field. You have a guy, usually two in the modern football, two in the flat so that the quarterback can kind of just check the ball down to, one in the intermediate, and then one stretching the field vertically. But that intermediate receiver, he faked as if he was going to run towards the sideline, runs back out on like a throwback, and it's like a 40-yard touchdown. Without these chunk plays, Iowa does not win this football game. I don't even think Iowa scores a touchdown without that one big chunk play.
Hmm.
Yeah, they had one good drive. So I mean, Iowa does kind of get away by the skin of their teeth. I think they deserve the win though. With or without the Clifford getting hurt, they really did deserve to win. Their coaches came in with the better game plan and they won the game.
Yeah, the question is to me though is like, I think Iowa's good, and I still think they're a top 10 team in the country, probably top 5, but are they number 2 good?
No, they're not. They're not.
And
Penn State was the better team. They were.
I think Penn State's a better team. I would say Cincinnati's a better team.
Yeah, I would take Cincinnati. I mean, dude, Iowa had a good game. They went in. Their coaches executed. I thought that lastly, before we move off of this, that Penn State could have done a much better job taking advantage of a guy like Dotson with his skill set. A lot of the times they had him as the single receiver in 3 receiver sets and like in trips formations, which I didn't like because that led to a natural double team. Or they put him as the nearest receiver in a 3 receiver set. And once again, that also led to kind of a natural bracket over under bracket so that it was just really tough to get Dotson down the field open. So I would have just given up on doing it. They threw 2 interceptions trying to get him involved in the game vertically. I would have just said, fuck it. Like, if you're going to double him the entire game and have a safety over the top, let's just be patient, dink and dunk the football. To be completely honest, Penn State should have been winning by like 14 to 20 points at the
Mm.
end of the first half. And it's just on their coaching staff that they were turning the ball over. I think they were really just trying to force what was working in previous games instead of adapting to what Iowa was doing and being a little bit more patient.
Yeah, I mean, like, just turning over the ball like that, especially when Iowa is like they got playmakers on their defense that for some reason, has the nose of finding the football and like changing the field position.
Well,
So
also, when you have that Penn State defense, Iowa had one good drive. They had one drive that they really deserved a touchdown on. Other than that, it should have been all field goals. You take all these big plays out of the game, they score one touchdown. Penn State wins the game.
yeah, exactly.
Let's get into the other crazy game of the week, and that was Alabama gets upset by Texas A&M. I completely shocked by this one, to be completely honest. A&M has been a team that's been struggling all season. We saw them get beat and beat pretty good by an Arkansas team that
Hmm.
is just not nowhere near. That's not the right way to put it. They shouldn't be on the level of Alabama, and they kind of proved that they weren't really on the level of Georgia when they played at Georgia. A&M comes out here and just beats Bama. Now, first things first, this has got to be one of the weirdest games I've seen in terms of both teams just making an absolute plethora of mistakes the entire game, especially Alabama, because this is a Nick Saban coach team that,
Yeah.
I mean, he prides himself on mistake free football, right? His defense is always the defense that's well coached, that, it's if you're going to beat Bama, you usually have to be better than Bama. They're not going to just hand you the football game. Well, that was not the case here. Dude, there's like 5 instances I have of just clear mistakes. So the first touchdown to Wordmeyer, that Texas A&M tight end, it's a cover 3. The outside Texas A&M's running a post wheel. Alabama in cover 3, the outside corner just runs with the post instead of passing it off to the middle field safety. Tight end's wide open on the wheel, no one within 15 yards of him. Easy touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Second, there's a fumble on a handoff. Bryce Young literally just shoves the ball in his running back's throat. Terrible handoff. And this is like, that's like middle school level football, right? Just putting a handoff in his freaking belly.
He's
Leads
also
to a fumble. Texas A&M gets the ball. And they put up points. Stupid pick on the goal line. Like, I think it was the next drive or 2 drives after. You're at the 2-yard line. You have a tight end on a corner, and Bryce Young, instead of just giving his guy a chance, throwing the ball up to the pylon, tries to like force a throw. It was either a corner or a linebacker, bats it up to himself, and it is a pick on the goal line. Takes points off the board for Bama. And then the other thing, you had a blocked punt for a touchdown. You finally got the momentum back.
mm-hmm.
Next play, you let A&M take the kickoff back for a touchdown. All momentum gone. Like, to me, right there, that's the game. Like, that was the
Yeah.
turning point in the game for you. And then you just let him get it back. You're on the road. You can't have that happen.
Yeah, well, I thought that's when Bama was just going to take control again because, like at any point in that game, it was just A&M kind of hanging around and getting, making a little bit of plays just to stick around. And you were just waiting for that moment for Bama to just finally take control of the game. Like, you're the better team. We know it. Like, A&M's no slouch. Like, even though, like, I kind of written them off, I will, like, that was the first game they've had their quarterback actually play halfway decent.
Well, yeah, a couple more things is that, because like you're right, Alabama did eventually get the momentum and turn the tides in their favor. It was like that late third quarter, really early fourth quarter. It was all Bama.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is, they couldn't put the ball in the end zone. They settled for like 2 or 3 field goal attempts early in the fourth quarter to the middle of the fourth quarter. It let Texas A&M hang around. They score 1 touchdown, they take the lead, and I think that they just take control of the game. Right? That then all of a sudden the pressure's really on A&M, and then they maybe even go down 2 scores if you put it in the end zone twice. And with Alabama's offense, you really should be, when you have
Yeah.
momentum, capping off drives in the red zone with touchdowns. Um, Man, it was a really weird game. It just kept A&M around, and like you said, the biggest surprise for the A&M side is just how comfortable that quarterback was.
Yeah.
Bama was not able to get pressure on him. He made some mistakes, right? But at the end of the day, he was able to buy time. He was able to be comfortable. And you gave them enough chances and you gave them enough points to where it really bit you in the ass. And they ended up winning the game.
Yeah, anytime your quarterback throws for 3 touchdowns and only throws for 1 pick, against Alabama, and if your defense is holding up, you should be in this game. But if you look at the overall like game stats, it just makes no sense because Bama had almost 150 more total yards, right? I and and they were better on third down. They were clipping at 50% more first downs, less punts. I mean, 24 more total plays.
Well, yeah, it's just you had like 4 or 5 mistakes that just clearly led to touchdowns. And then a couple more things. Alabama's defense, it was just too much space underneath, especially in like the seams and the hook to curl zones.
Yeah.
Texas A&M was really able to take advantage of that. Anais Smith, he's a receiver that I like, was really just kind of eating the entire game. And then he made a couple of big plays. That Werdermeyer kid, that tight end that scored the touchdown that I said, he was kind of eaten. And then lastly, It's not going to show up in the box score. But Isaiah Spiller was a threat, and it got to the point where Alabama, like he was giving them some fits because I mean they just had to commit guys in the box to stop him. I
Hmm.
mean, if you look at the stats, it's like he averaged 2.7 yards per carry, only had like 80 or 90 total yards. But at the end of the day, when you're watching the game, you're like, well, this guy's making a lot of people miss, and Bama really had to account for that, which kind of led to a lot of one-on-ones on the outside that you gave them enough chances, and like you said, Texas A&M's on a slouch. They were able to take advantage. You know, you just gave them enough shots, and they were the ones that took advantage when the game was over on that last drive.
Yeah, because like the thing is, it's not like it's an upset. Anytime Bama goes down, it's a huge because like what they lose once every 3 years, so like anytime they lose is huge. But like A&M's no slouch of a team. Like coming in, they were ranked. What did they start the season at 5 or 6?
Yeah,
It was just like their defense was playing well all season. It was quarterback play and just the struggle to move the ball. If they find that kind of niche now mid-season, then it's probably too late for them to represent the West. Bama would have to go down again, and I really doubt Alabama would lose another game this season. But again, it that also for Bryce Young though, I like because I think this is one more of the first games we see him play in a very hostile environment because you know the 12th man was rocking that night, and I maybe it got to him a little bit because he did not look as sharp as we've seen him in the past. It's like the offensive flow for a little bit when you look at the Ole Miss game to compare to this game, it was different to me because like Ole Miss, it was just boom, drive, touchdown, and here you were getting held. I don't.
yeah, that red zone defense from Texas A&M is probably the reason they won the game. But
Yeah,
I
Davis
think we
did
should
on
make
great.
no mistake, though, Alabama beat themselves in this football game.
Oh yeah, I mean they had 82 yards worth of penalties. You know, at the end of the day, they lost that battle, and that takes you out of the game.
So I mean, credit to Texas A&M, they definitely showed up, and like yeah, I'll agree with you there that the hostile environment, Bryce Young. I mean, this was probably the first time that we saw like major flaws with his inexperience. I do think that there were a lot of plays and a lot of drives where he was composed and did look like a veteran player,
Yeah, I mean,
but
still really
stuff
talented.
like that handoff, like that's just inexcusable. You can't just give a team because you're right. Texas A&M showed up for that game, right? Like at this point in the season for A&M, that was their season. It
Oh
was
yeah,
like
they
we beat Bama, like season's back on track. Like this is our national championship right here.
exactly because now like if A&M wins out, they can go to a New Year's Six, and even if not, they lose a couple more games. They're going to look at it like still on their resume that it was a great season. Anytime you beat Bama, it's a godsend.
Yeah,
And also finally, like one of Saban's like former like assistant coaches finally beat him.
yeah.
And, out of the people that beat him, I never thought Lane Kiffin would really have a chance because I'm not calling him a fraud. I think Ole Miss is still really good, but I just think he's not at that level. I think Kirby can beat him, and then I would have thrown Jimbo Fisher in the ring just because Jimbo, he's not like Lane Kiffin. But he has the track record of being good. I mean, he's won a natty, right? Like
Hmm.
we know he can coach a good team. So at the end of the day, it's a good grudge match, and I mean, it was an exciting game. I'm glad it was this close. I was on Bama, so it kind of sucks to lose that bet, but good for A&M.
All right. Well, I was gonna go into the Texas Oklahoma game. We can talk about Lane Kiffin in that Ole Miss Arkansas game because that was an absolute shootout, crazy football game. Um,
If you like points,
dude, first off, this was a fun game, this Arkansas Ole Miss game, simply because it was really awesome to see two hyper aggressive teams play each other. I
mm,
mean, there was like I must think like 15 fourth downs where they were going for it. I mean,
mm,
if you count 2-point conversions, holy shit. Like it was just aggressiveness city and you saw it pan out. Speaking of your boy Lane Kiffin, though, dude, that Ole Miss offense was unstoppable.
mm-hmm. So was Arkansas's.
Yeah, Arkansas, but like I'm watching the game and I was struggling before the podcast to kind of put a finger on exactly how I thought because Arkansas's offense, I mean, they obviously played well. And you look at the stats, they were going off, but Ole Miss's offense, there was just something about it where it was like it almost looked like it was practice, right? Where they were just, and I think it was partly because Matt Corral just was going off.
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin's scheme, like I mean, they were just running the ball. Matt Corral's legs, like whoever they were putting the conflict defender, right? Because they're doing a lot of this option stuff, RPO kind of stuff, and then once whatever matchup they chose, depending on what the Arkansas look was, Ole Miss was just constantly in the advantage. Arkansas made plays, but I think that was the problem is that Arkansas's offense went off because they were making plays, right? I think a good way to put it is there was a drive, I'm pretty sure it was somewhere in the third quarter where Treylon Burks 2 plays in a row just mossed one of the Ole Miss corners. And that's how they drove down the field and they eventually capped it off. But Ole Miss, on the other hand, was just they their entire offense was going off. They didn't need someone to go out there and make some ridiculous play. The scheme and their execution was the reason why they were just going off and scoring points. And I
Yeah.
think that's another reason why Arkansas, not even like they're an aggressive team, Sam Pittman's an aggressive coach. You had to go for two because if that game's going to overtime, I don't think Arkansas was going to get a single stop.
No, I don't think they were either. And then it like going to OT, it would have taken a couple more of those like big plays. Arkansas would have had to step up and make a play. Because I was listening to this game on the radio a little bit. It's just I don't it sounded like a fun game to watch in person, but like didn't Arkansas get the ball back with like how many times on the clock? Like 30 seconds left on the clock, and they were just had that miracle drive to like
I think it was like a minute.
it
I
was
think
it
they got about a minute.
okay, but yeah, I mean whenever you have 103 points scored in a total game, dude, like that's just
Yeah.
really wild.
Um. So
But
I mean,
was so impressive, man.
the fact of the matter is though is that Matt Corral on the ground. I mean, everyone's going to mention Matt Corral as a passer has gotten a tick faster with his processing compared to last year. I'm pretty sure it was the Arkansas game last year where he threw like 3 or 4 interceptions in a game where I mean they should have won. He basically just threw the game, right?
Well, yeah,
Um,
it was like a stat when Matt Corral threw like a pick or two, like Ole Miss didn't win the game.
it was the opposite. I mean, this entire season, Matt Corral is just you can tell he's comfortable in the offense. He's a tick faster. And then lastly, like the real X factor is that on the ground is just so annoying because with his legs, I'm pretty sure he's leading the SEC in rushing touchdowns. It's just created this ultimate mismatch for Arkansas where no matter what they did, no matter they could have called any defense in the world and Ole Miss would have had the advantage
Mm-hmm.
because of Matt Corral's legs, because of how they were running the ball, and because of how good Corral has got at processing on these RPOs. Like he's on time now and he's making all the correct decisions. And then if you want to try and stop all this underneath stuff, well, Matt Corral is also one of the best deep ball passers in college football right now.
Mm-hmm.
So they really just had absolutely no answer. I'm honestly surprised that Arkansas was so in the game. It's just they made plays, right? I kind of think of it as if these two teams were to play again next week, I think Ole Miss wins comfortably. But good for Arkansas for sticking around. I mean, their quarterback made a ton of plays. Their running back was doing all right, and then Treylon Burks was Treylon Burks.
Well, that's just kind of like what Arkansas has been this whole season, right? They've just been kind of like that pesky team you don't want to play because they can make these plays. For some reason, they just it's like I kind of compare him to like the player that has like a really big heart and just goes out there and just tries really hard and just succeeds. That's what you see like kind of Arkansas does it, and I think that's what Sam Pittman has brought to this program, and why they're kind of like really jumping the gun this second year. Now I
Mhm.
know they've dropped 2 in a row, but this is a team who's Arkansas is better than LSU. They're gonna. I could see them be even. They already beat A&M. I, they're going to be. I don't know if they're going to be top 3 in the West, but like they're going to be in that mix and finishing ranked at the end of the season. But yeah, again though, Ole Miss, like, you know, I understand like having that game plan against Alabama is a little tough because it's Alabama, but like it's just like damn, if you could have executed that against Bama, like it's not like Bama's defense is that great. Maybe we're talking about you being from the SEC now.
Yeah, it's just I think the Ole Miss problem is just that defense is pretty
Oh,
trash.
or
They need a defensive line to me. I think that's the big problem with Ole Miss. I mean, on top of the fact that they just need just better players on defense in general, I think the biggest problem is that their defensive line is just going to get bullied, and you saw that against Bama and even against Arkansas, where Jefferson, that Arkansas quarterback. I mean, when he's in the pocket, he's making plays, and then he's extending plays, and then God forbid he breaks contain, he's breaking like 3 tackles. But Ole Miss offensively, unsurprisingly, is very good. Um, they just don't have the total team, which I think is the problem. But I mean, if they go up against a defense like in Arkansas, they've proven that they can just execute and win games just by putting up 50 plus points. And that's how they kind of have to win, I guess. Last thing is that, dude, a lot of these new SEC coaches, a lot. I mean, there's like two that I really like, Sam Pittman being one of them, and then we'll get into the Tennessee coach later. I really like these guys, dude. I think that the quality of coaching in the SEC has really gone up by adding these guys.
yeah, I mean it's the SEC, so like when these schools go out there looking for coaches, they're looking for the best of the best because you play with the best of the best.
Yeah, I just find it fun that you have. It seems like a lot of these organizations are branching out a little bit instead of just trying to copy Alabama or copy Georgia. It's like they're getting more creative coaches, which I don't think you would have seen years ago. Like, oh, we're not gonna hire an air raid guy ever, and then you see Mississippi State hires frickin' what's his name?
Uh, Leach.
Yeah, Mike Leach, and on all that, right? We'll get into the Tennessee guy later because I got some stuff to say on him. But let's get into this one: Texas against Oklahoma. What an absolutely thrilling football game!
My God.
Um, Oklahoma ended up winning it 55-48. Texas was just blowing the doors off of Oklahoma in the first half. I think they were up 28-7.
Yeah,
And then,
they were up 28-7 in the first quarter.
yeah, in the first quarter. But then we finally saw Oklahoma be what we expected them to be when they benched Spencer Rattler for what's that backup quarterback's name? Um
Williams.
yeah, I think Williams. Well, he's not going to be the backup anymore. I can tell you that much because Rattler, he's not a bad quarterback. I think that, you're going to have all these people on Twitter, almost like the trolls, right? That are like, oh, Spencer Rattler's trash. He's so bad, this, that, and the other. It's like, dude,
Not good.
when you watch the games, like, he's not bad. The problem is that Williams, the other quarterback, when he went in there, he played like he was on the better team, which I think Rattler tried to be like a little bit too. I don't know
Vanilla.
what the right word for it is, but it almost felt like he wasn't putting his teammates in a position to make plays. Like you saw Williams when Mims was 1-on-1,
Oh,
right down the field. He's like, well, my guy's better than your guy, and it's fucking Texas's secondary, so he probably is. Um, so you just throw it up and let his guy make a play. We
yeah.
didn't see that out of Rattler. It was always like this offense lives and dies by how Spencer Rattler is playing and if he's on the same page with his teammates. We saw Williams go in there, he made plays and then he put his teammates in positions to make plays. He just gave his guys a chance. And you finally saw Oklahoma, with the talent level they have, start executing and start making these chunk plays. And dude, they put up like 40 fucking points in 2 quarters of football.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like that. They look like a college football playoff team. If you take out that first quarter, they blew them out. It's really not even close. The score would have been 48-20. You take out that first quarter and you put in Williams or whatever. It's night and day. So I think now, like, Oklahoma's a legit threat if he is that good. Now, like, I don't know if I'm not going to say it wasn't a fluke or like it was a fluke, but like, you know, maybe Texas had a certain game plan for Rattler, and Williams just threw him off. Because one thing I thought when I see that Williams kid is that he's just more aggressive downfield than Rattler is.
Yeah.
He's just more aggressive, and I don't know if that's Rattler. Like something's wrong, like mentally, or he just doesn't trust it. But again, like going back to Matt Corral, Rattler was a guy who showed progression last year. Like Oklahoma started slow, but then they started firing. They looked like one of the better teams at the end of the year. And that was because of Rattler's play improved. Now, coming in this season where he was the Heisman favorite, now he's not even starting. That's where you saw Matt Corral kind of take that second step. Is like, really nurtured and just became more aware of what's going on. I don't know what Rattler was doing the offseason. He wasn't doing that. And, I'm sure he's still going to be involved in the offense because you saw in that 2-point conversion, he got put back in. They converted there. So I'm sure like Lincoln Riley's like he is an athlete, so he will have like schemes specifically for him. But now moving forward, like you got to feel pretty confident just in Oklahoma in general with their quarterback play.
Well, I think the biggest problem with Rattler was that he was trying to be a little like I think you put it best. He just wasn't aggressive enough. He was almost too game managey, and it was
Dude,
too much underneath. Trying, he was trying to go in and be that dink and dunk down the field, control the football kind of a guy. And all of the successful quarterbacks at Oklahoma have been just aggressive quarterback. I mean, Baker Mayfield, hyper aggressive.
yeah.
Um, Kyler Murray, very aggressive, and not just throwing the ball, running the ball as well. I mean, Jalen Hurts even was way more aggressive than the way that Spencer Rattler was playing. So I think that that's the biggest problem. And then because like when you look at Spencer Rattler, you look at some of the games back. I didn't watch a ton of the games back, and I don't have the all 22, but I did watch a little bit to try and get a better perspective. It's not like he played horribly to come out, and that's why I was saying about the trolls. It's like, okay, yeah, Spencer Rattler was not playing up to his potential, and he was hindering and capping the ceiling of the Oklahoma offense. But let's not just completely disregard the fact that they were still putting up like 30 points and that they were still scoring and still playing well. It's just they weren't Oklahoma well, right?
I
They were just
blowing the
good.
There's no reason why you should only score 19 points against West Virginia. That's the game that
Yeah.
screams out that Rattler's not the guy to me. Because watching that game, it's like, dude, West Virginia's not that good. We know they're not that good. Like West Virginia's never had their defense might be better than it once was, but like again, you're Oklahoma. I mean, you've had the names of Baker, Kyler, even Jalen Hurts come through this program and average 35 points, 40 points a game, in these elite offenses. And something was holding them back. I don't think they're going to be held back anymore. If anything, they might be more of the most potent offenses in the league, unless that dude just had a freak day. But I doubt that.
Well, something has to be said that Texas defense is just not good.
No,
Well,
I mean,
let's not beat around that. That's not a good Texas defense. Um, like yeah, good offenses. Like you saw Arkansas throttled them, right?
mm,
They couldn't stop a nosebleed that game, and we finally saw what I mean. A lot of people, I guess, not necessarily were expecting, but what should have happened, right? Oklahoma throttled Texas's defense. I guess the other thing too, though, speaking of aggressiveness, is that I just thought Sark at the end of that game got way too comfortable, and it was almost reminiscent of some of those Falcons games, the way that you would get that lead and you would get a little bit too comfortable. You lost some of that aggression that they had early in the game, right? Hitting that true freshman kid down the field, getting him one on one with the ball in his hands on the outside, and almost felt like, okay, we're up 20 points. Let's just go run with Bijan Robinson, then pass it on third down.
yeah.
A little bit too predictable. You lost just
I mean, they
Texas just needed one more big play at the end of the game to win, and they didn't get it.
I the thing is, like, they went 3 and out so many times, and it just really, like, Oklahoma got hot, and they kept going 3 and out. I mean, dude, that 28-7 lead will evaporate like that, you know. And then they Texas. it was tied at 48, right? Then something happened, like Texas fumbled on the kickoff. Just a terrible mistake. Oklahoma scores right there. And then Texas has a good drive to answer and tie the game up. Like that was a great throw and catch in the back of the end zone for Texas. I mean, it was just, and then of course, like the way Oklahoma was going, they were either going to kick the field goal and win, or of course, Kennedy Brooks somehow escaped through that hole, and then if you were on Texas spread, it just screwed you.
I mean, yeah, and I mean, lastly, both of those running backs looked really freaking good. I mean,
Oh,
nothing needs to be said about Bijan. The guy's a stud, but like you said, Brooks was having a really phenomenal game, and that's kind of what another guy that finally showed up, because he was someone that a lot of people were really high on coming into the season. He just hasn't really been playing to that full potential.
mm-hmm.
We finally saw it. Um, this is a game that really pissed me off. LSU against Kentucky. So Kentucky won 42-21. That is a bait scoreline. That should just take that 21 and replace it with a freaking goose egg, because LSU got their doors knocked off. I will tell you what, because you were saying it last week that Coach O should be canned. After watching that game, I think I have to agree with you.
I
That
mean,
was,
I'm out. Like dude, he's not a good coach. Like he's a cool guy and everything, but I mean, what are
dude,
we
like
doing?
that wasn't just a bad performance. That was one of the worst performances I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, Kentucky's good. Kentucky's on the up and up. That crowd was showing up, especially after a big win against Florida. All those fans are going to be hyped. Oh, dude, look at us. We're Kentucky. This is our year. All that. Dude, you're LSU. I mean, Keishon Butte, I know he got hurt, but like, you still have good players. And I just feel like they've just ran the same shit every freaking game. This quarterback sucks.
Oh,
I
the
don't
long.
know his name, 14. This fake Joe Burrow is trash. The defense is just getting bullied the whole game. Chris Rodriguez, the Kentucky running back, is averaging like 10 yards a carry.
Yeah.
Um, this game was over at the end of the first quarter, basically, end of the second quarter. LSU absolutely got bullied. They got dominated. And honestly, like, it's embarrassing for a program like that to get that bullied.
Oh no, this should be a very embarrassing loss. It's just something about Coach O, because like he's not a scheme guy, right? He's a team guy. He's a game. He's a
He's a
man.
recruiter.
Yeah, like he's a recruiter, and he gets all these big recruits, like not on the same level as Bama or Georgia, but like still top 10 in the country, right? You're LSU. Like it's not that hard to be like, hey, come to LSU. Like if you're a 4-star athlete or whatever. But I mean, he's gonna have to get someone on the OC and DC, because like LSU has always been like, for me, their corners play really well and their linebackers, right? Like those two units, and I'm just not seeing that same aggressiveness. I don't know if it's scheme fit or something like that, and just the offense is just horrendous. Like
Horrible.
it's just
Terrible.
horrendous. And
Without Keishon Butte, they can't score until it's garbage time.
yeah,
Like, this is a bad football team. And I mean, you had that number one corner, what's his name? Stingley, like he was hurt, but there's still no excuse for getting your doors knocked off by Kentucky. Like, just think about it like this, because you're right. LSU should be, like, because you're saying they're not getting the same recruits as Georgia and Bama. Well, that's no excuse if you're a recruiting head coach. You're LSU. You should be getting the recruits as Georgia and Bama. Like, you should. And like your whole roster should be that good. Um,
especially like you won a national championship more recent than Georgia. Like like what are you doing? You just need I guess Coach O needs a stacked team with 30 seniors and like 20 NFL picks that year to be good. It's clear that now that you're 2 years removed from that national championship team, you see that he got carried by the players in Joe Brady's elite offense, to now that he's a fraud. You kind of see what he was like at USC has transferred over here to LSU.
like I don't hate Coach O. I still think
No,
he's a good guy. I think he can have success somewhere. But
maybe
dude,
like
if
a FAU.
If this is Georgia, right? If Georgia gets smacked like that against Kentucky, all the Georgia fans, all the freaking boosters, that coach is gone. After like he's gone. He's canned instantly. Hours after the game, he's gone.
It
If
just
you get beat like that.
it just wouldn't happen.
Yeah, but the thing is that shouldn't happen for LSU. That wouldn't happen is probably what people were thinking, not necessarily in the beginning of the season, because I know me and you were both kind of lower on LSU, but not this low. Not yeah, the score was 42-21. It was like 42-7 by the end of the third quarter. That is a horrible performance. It's
Just
just not
not
acceptable
all good.
for a school the pedigree and the expectation for a team like LSU. Just
And
not acceptable.
and like I understand Kentucky's now ranked 11. You know, they got a big matchup this week. But again, you're getting your ass kicked by a team that cares more about basketball than they do their football team.
Dude, but like are we not going to act like okay, they had a good win against Florida. They should have lost that game.
They should
Like
dude, they should have lost against Florida. They should have lost against South Carolina if they had an offense. I mean, they turned the ball over 4 times. South Carolina held them to 16 points. You know, and that Florida loss still doesn't make sense because they were like first and goal from like the 2 and didn't score. And then this week, you know, you kind of just see the confidence carries over and they just beat the dog shit
dude,
out.
not even that. They scored like one touchdown against Florida. I mean, like an offensive touchdown. They had the blocked field goal. So,
Yeah,
I mean, enough of Kentucky. Good for them. I thought the Kentucky quarterback played well. Will Levis.
they're
He
about
had
to
a
get.
good game. Obviously, the running attack, like Kentucky's offensive line was absolutely bullying LSU.
Mhm.
Um, they had a slight injury scare with that really sick tackle from Kentucky. That guy's nasty. Um,
I mean, Kentucky has good players.
yeah. Like I'm not saying that Kentucky's a bad team. Like they're a good SEC team. It's just
It's just more like LSU. What the hell are you doing?
yeah,
Like,
they're not that good.
yeah, like
You know, they're not. They
I mean,
shouldn't
like
be that good.
score prediction. Like if LSU was playing Alabama, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I see that. You know, but like
Mhm.
Kentucky, like we playing basketball out here? We playing football?
um, Another interesting game: Notre Dame against Virginia Tech. I'll tell you what, this is a fascinating Notre Dame team because, I, quite frankly, I don't know how they won this game. Like, it's still, even after the game, I'm like,
Notre Dame.
they won? How? So Notre Dame, Jack Cohn started the game for them, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then this other quarterback, what's his name?
Pine.
No, not Pine, another kid. I have his name written down here. Um Trying to find it. Buckner, I think. Buckner. He's a freshman. Kid came in and played well. Like he came in, played really well. The Notre Dame offense started moving the football. Um, Side note: the Virginia Tech offense was doing really well with Burmeister in the first half. They were moving the ball great, and then that same kid that Notre Dame quarterback throws a pick six. So it was I think that they were down 1 point or up 1 point. It was a really close football game. It's um it's a third down and like 6 or a third and 10. And to be completely honest, it was just a young kid mistake. Uh, Notre Dame was clear, or Virginia Tech was clearly in a cover two of sorts where they had a corner rolled up,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean the Notre Dame quarterback just threw it right to a defender. Like the guy didn't have to move; he just threw it right to him. Pick six. All of a sudden, Virginia Tech's really in that game. They're at home. The crowd's roaring, and then the a couple drives later. He threw another pick on like a third and 20. And then Virginia Tech goes down, scores. They're up 8 points with like 5 minutes left, I'm pretty sure. On that same play, the Notre Dame quarterback gets injured. So Jack Cohn's coming back in. And I imagine if you're a Notre Dame fan, you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah,
Like this guy again.
here we
um,
go.
Jack Cohn comes in, and I don't know what the hell happened. I don't know if he ate his Wheaties on the sideline.
He just
Dude
went
comes
off.
in and starts lighting it up. Like
Yeah.
it was the Jack Cohen that you were hoping for all season. Comes in there, they drive down the field, they score, they go for two. Steed, you have to look up this 2-point conversion because I don't know what the hell happened. He's rolling out for the play lasted like 30 seconds, it feels like. He throws a prayer into the end zone. I'm pretty sure he was throwing to a receiver that ended up not catching the ball. Some other dude just comes out of nowhere, snatches the ball. Game's tied. Virginia Tech has an opportunity, like 2 minutes left to drive down the field. 3 and out. It felt like it was like a 1 and out, right? It felt like they ran one play. Punt the ball. Notre Dame comes back, drives down the field, field goal. I don't know how they won the game. I cannot fathom how they ended up winning the game.
Well, this is what Notre Dame does, right? Like over the years, they find themselves in these wonky, weird games, and they somehow, some way, come up top. Besides Cincinnati, but against like Virginia Tech's good, but are they great? No, but it's just weird games. I think it gives a lot of props to their coach Brian Kelly. Just
Yeah.
finding a way to win.
Because I mean, dude, like Notre Dame knows that their quarterback spot is an issue. It's not like they're not trying things. I mean, dude, it's
Oh,
been quarterback carousel the past 2 games. Like last game, they had 3 quarterbacks play. This game, you had a quarterback play, get benched for another dude, for that guy to come back in. So it's another quarterback carousel game. But this Notre Dame defense, man, they did what they needed to do because even though they gave up 29 points, their red zone defense is why they won. I mean, Virginia Tech Burmeister, that Virginia Tech quarterback, was doing great. He was making plays with his legs. I mean, when you look at the stats, he only had like a 50% completion percentage, but this dude was making really good throws and playing really well.
yeah.
Um, Virginia Tech has this receiver. I forget his name off the top of my head, but he's pretty good. He's going to get some NFL looks. Um, But man, they stopped them enough in the red zone, had forced Virginia Tech to settle for enough field goals just to keep them in the game. Um, and they ended up winning. So good for Notre Dame. This team is just it's not sexy. They're just finding ways to win.
Yep, they are.
Okay, so that was all the games that I actually watched. We can talk about some of these other games. Michigan State beats Rutgers pretty bad, 31-13. That was expected to. I'm pretty sure the spread was like 5.5 for Michigan State, somewhere in there. So that was expected to be
It
a
was
one-score game.
it was close though. It was like 20-13 at one point, and Rutgers like committed a couple turnovers that really screwed them.
Oh, okay.
Like it was like a pick, and then another fumble or something. So, I mean, nothing like crazy like in this game, but you expect Michigan State to beat Rutgers by 18, but again, Rutgers they were in this ball game, but a couple turnovers really screwed you out of the way.
I think the interesting thing about this one though is that I feel like a lot of people would have expected Michigan State to fall off
Oh,
like
they haven't.
sooner than I'm not saying that Michigan State's still out in the whatever, right? I just think that some like you would have expected Michigan State to have a bad loss to not show up. I'm pretty sure that was last week. They were in a close game, but they pulled it out in an overtime. Come out here, they played well on the road. Um, Michigan State may be legit. They're still playing well, so good for them. Um, Ohio State blows the doors off of Maryland. Not much here. I just think that it's funny. Like I still don't know if they benched CJ Stroud or if he just wasn't ready to play. But regardless, I think that he proved this game that that was kind of just a stupid decision. He came out there, played well. Offense was not the problem this year, really, for Ohio State all that much. And
Yeah,
then that running back, Travion Henderson, looks really good for Ohio State. And I'm pretty sure he's a freshman. That guy's going to be a stud.
he's a true freshman. I
He's going to be disgusting.
I think this is just where you really see Ohio State getting back to themselves. Back to what Ohio State is, and not losing to not a good Oregon team, and even just struggling to stop the run. Is Maryland good? No, like two of his younger brothers, not that great. But anytime you beat a team by 49 points, I mean, come on.
I mean, they were getting, I guess, a little bit of hype because they started off 4-0. They beat West Virginia. I mean, they had a road win at Illinois only by 3, but they proved the last 2 weeks against Iowa and Ohio State they're just nowhere near that
Oh, they're not there.
top tier. Um, Okay, here's a game that I want to talk about more. A team that I want to talk about, and that's Tennessee. They blows the doors off of South Carolina. I don't know if this game was expected to be close or not. Um,
I think the spread was like 10.
okay, I gotta say this freaking I have it written down somewhere here. Here it is. This Tennessee coach, Josh Lupel. He was a former coach at UCF from 2018 to 2020. Is now the Tennessee head coach. Obviously, this offense is fucking awesome. This might be like I thought that the Coastal Carolina offense was really fun to watch, really great design, all that. I think Tennessee might have beaten them because I'm watching this game and I'm watching these plays. I'm like, holy crap, this stuff is brilliant. Like, a lot of I was talking about that Ole Miss game, right? Where Lane Kiffin's offense, he did a really good job of putting defenders in conflict and taking advantage of that. Dude, he had this Tennessee offense had the entire South Carolina team in conflict. They had no fucking answers. That one of my favorite plays where um Tennessee's quarterback and their whole offense, right? They're acting like they're just doing a quarterback power to the right. Dude stops up, throws a bomb on a post, like it's a deep go down the field. Guy's wide open by like 5 yards. It was just that all day for Tennessee. It's been like that a lot of the season for Tennessee. Tennessee has been kind of like, I mean,
Especially these last 2 weeks. I mean, they put
yeah,
up 62 against Missouri. Now
yeah, they've put up 107 points in the past 2 weeks. Holy smokes.
yeah,
I'm really liking what I'm seeing out of Tennessee. Might be a really quick turnaround for a program that like kind of looked like they were doomed not too long ago.
well, Tennessee's always been kind of just a weird team. Like, a couple years ago with Josh Dobbs, they had a good and Kamara and all of them. It was a good team, right? They were ranked. They were expected to do more. I think they only won like 9 games, but they were ranked, and they, they played some people tough, but they also had some bad losses. And then, you really thought they were about to take the next lead. Never did under who is that? What was that coach's name? Coached at Georgia. He's like their DC.
Oh, I know what he looks like. I can't remember his name. Was it a Butch? Or no, I'm thinking of someone
No,
else.
you're thinking of Butch Jones. Now I was
Yeah.
thinking of the guy right after him. But like he wasn't the guy. I mean, you got this new guy
I
coming.
think they got the guy now. I really do. This guy's convinced me. His scheme is awesome.
I mean, like Tennessee's going to get recruits, and talking about LSU, it Tennessee's going to be competitive and score points like this at the end of the day. Like, don't be shocked if you have players from that were committed to teams like LSU who are just looking like crap. Decommit and flip to schools like Tennessee.
Well, I'll tell you what, this game, Tennessee at home against Ole Miss this week, is gonna be it's gonna be points galore.
I mean, the
I
over
think the over
under.
under's at like 82 points right now.
Yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised if that final score is like 70-63.
So
Five.
I listen, I like Tennessee. I'm gonna make a point to watch some of their games. I think that going forward, this is a not a super dangerous team necessarily right now. But dude, I think that they're definitely gonna make their way kind of like Arkansas last year, right? You saw last year Arkansas had a good season. You saw the
Yeah,
flashes. They had a couple of bad losses, but like the building blocks were there. I think that Tennessee is in that same spot right now.
yeah, I'd agree with that. They're putting stuff together. I mean, like you'll see Tennessee struggle, right? Like they got blown out against Florida, right? And they struggled with Bowling Green at first, but that's first game of the year, so not gonna really look into it. Then you see them play a team like Pitt, who looks like might be the front runner in the ACC. They played a tough game against them. They lost, but now you see them really turn it up these last 2 weeks, just scoring points. And like a lot of people be like, "Well, South Carolina's bad, Missouri's bad." I don't know too much about Mizzou, but I do know something about South Carolina. That defense had played good coming into that game. Like it had been a formidable defense enough and to just get and they did get some couple turnovers in the early part of the game. It's like first and second quarter. They were back to back drives. South Carolina had that they turned over the ball, but Tennessee's but one was like on like in the end zone, so they still had to go 80 yards. and I was listening to that game on the radio as well. I think that 80-yard drive lasted 3 plays. It was so quick. I was like, damn, dude, they're just, and next thing you know, it's 28-0 first quarter.
Yeah, I really like this Tennessee team. We can move on to some of the other games. Just want to touch on Baylor blows out West Virginia. Is this a surprise game? Just because like West Virginia, I felt like they obviously had that close game against Oklahoma. Um, any surprises there?
It doesn't shock me. I still think Baylor's a very underrated sleepy team. Now this shows you how good Oklahoma State might be. Only holding this Baylor offense to, what was it, 13 points or something like that the week
Yeah,
before.
13 or 14 points.
But it also shows you maybe that Rattler's not the guy because what
Yeah.
gave up 45 points to that quarterback that I watched against Oklahoma State for Baylor. That dude shouldn't be putting up 45 points against a damn high school team, but I guess he did.
Thing to mention though with Baylor, this receiver Tyquan Thornton, this
Okay.
guy's a stud. There was some highlights from the game. He's just mossing people. Um, he went off. He had 8 catches, 187 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's going to get some looks from the league.
That's a good day in the office.
Yeah, it's a very good day at the office. Um, Here's another game, just wacky game. Virginia beats Louisville 34-33. Good win for Virginia. Louisville, it's just every freaking week they lose one score close games. I kind of feel bad for them. Maybe they should invest in a little bit of a defense there.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's the thing, right? Like their defense coming in this year, it was very unknown because they had, what was it, 8 starters leave off that defense. That wasn't good last year, anyways. So now you like their backups in, or like these true freshmen are coming in, so you kind of see why they're just getting torched. And Virginia, I don't remember last time Virginia had a good offense. There's no reason why Virginia should ever be putting up 34 points.
I do see that. Like, I like this Louisville team. I think Louisville's quarterback, what's his name? Malik Cunningham, I'm pretty sure his name is.
Mm.
This guy's good. They have a good running attack. Like,
But
it's just
their offense is reason why they're in these games.
like it must be so frustrating if you're a Louisville fan because like this team could easily be one of the top ACC teams, right? They're in the ACC, right? Am I getting that wrong?
Yeah, they are. Well, like the frustrating point would be that it looks like your offense is like out of the ACC now. Pick your poison on which team, but looks like it's one of the better offenses in the league. But you just don't have the defense.
Dude,
And
freaking Virginia threw the ball 60 times. Holy shit. Like, how many times does a team throw the ball 60 times
and win.
and win? It's crazy. Um, Florida State upsets North Carolina. What the hell?
Doesn't surprise me, dude. This is why I was so shocked that North Carolina was ranked 10 coming this season. Now it was probably hype with Sam Howell. This team sucks. It's not good.
Yeah, this team is not
You
good.
you could see where all those players that went in the draft, you see that lack of talent there now. It's just that offense is not the same. That defense was never that great. I mean, you lost your best defensive piece in Chad Surratt, and I don't. The Matt Brown experience started off great, but now you might be seeing where a little bit of old age might be catching up in a young man's league, in my opinion.
I mean, dude, just imagine losing by 10 to Florida State right now. Florida State is not a good
This is
team.
the team that lost to Jacksonville State, But like, I, what is Florida State? Can we figure them out? Like, they almost beat Notre Dame. Should have beat Notre Dame.
I don't know.
Then they
Like,
get beat by Jacksonville State, and then they play who they play. They play Louisville close or whatever, and then now they're beating North Carolina. Is this just what the this might be just what the ACC is? It's just any given week anybody can beat anyone, and it's just because they're all crap.
I don't know what to think anymore with Florida State. They're just it's a clown fiesta these games with them. Boise State upsets BYU.
That
And you were on
that
BYU. Like, any thoughts from this one?
I think I just got kind of rolled into the BYU hype, and it I thought BYU was just going to like be the better team. You're playing at home. Boise State's been like a little here and there. Like they played good in some games and they haven't. And they showed up this week. Like Boise State's still going to be a good team. And anytime you get Boise State plus money, you should be good. I think the better way to like I think the way I'm looking at it right here, Boise State's much better when they're an underdog than they are a favorite because they got their doors kicked in by Nevada. Then you go this week, they beat BYU, and then like I know that UCF game was close, but they almost won that game as well. So I don't know, it's just a weird team trying to figure out. I think that's just like the trials and error because they lost their head coach. So like with a new head coach in there, any given week, this dude could figure something out. And that Boise State team that does have talent and the repertoire of playing well could just beat you. And then
Yeah,
be
I'm looking at the stats. I didn't watch this game. It's just the turnovers. It looks like. I mean, BYU outgained the shit out of Boise State, but I think they turned the ball over 4 times. So you're not going to win. TCU beats Texas Tech by 21 points in a 52-31 game. Texas Tech is not a great team this year. Really no surprise there.
I mean, Denton, Texas put like 70 points against.
Yeah, they got smacked. It seems like Texas Tech is getting smacked every week here. Michigan with a scare against Nebraska. They win 32-29.
Dude, the Cornhuskers, I like they have reeled off a couple like 3 weeks now. Like I know they're L's, but like they're playing better. They're in these games. They
Yeah,
have
they destroyed Northwestern 56-7. And like you said, right, a one score loss against Oklahoma at Oklahoma, a 3 point loss at Michigan State. That was an overtime loss, I'm pretty sure, right? Or it was close game regardless. Now only a 3 point loss to Michigan. They got a couple of games here where they can still turn things around, but I think you're right. Like Nebraska, they have talent on that team. They're finally starting to put it together. Maybe they can get that upset against a legit team here.
they can, but I think they're running out of time.
Yeah.
I don't know who's left on their schedule, but um the question is that you see that they're on the cusp of having an upset and they're in these games where, they're not favored to be in these games. Is that good enough to keep Scott Frost there? Or do you look at that more like, well, we're in these games, Scott Frost is holding us back? I don't know. It's the selling point, right? Because like Scott Frost was so great at UCF, and he's supposed to come in here, an alumni at Nebraska, bring Nebraska back to his glory days, and it's kind of horrible so far. But even this span of losses right here, this is the best Nebraska's played under Scott Frost. So like,
Yeah.
what the hell do you do? Do you keep trusting the process, or do you go find a new guy?
I think you just have to wait because like you still have some big games, right? You're gonna play at Minnesota, you are at home against Purdue, you're playing Ohio State, you're playing at Wisconsin. Um, is that right? Because didn't they? I thought they already played Wisconsin. Um,
Do they?
and then they play at home against Iowa. I feel like no, they played at Illinois week 1. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what I'm thinking. So yeah, they still have some big games coming up. So I think that jury's still out on what's going to happen with them. Utah blows out USC. Utah low key has been one of the hotter teams in college football right now. USC is just like what the hell is going on with them? This is just a mulligan year for them right now. It seems like.
Oh, they're
Um,
ever since that Stanford loss, and they fired their coach. It's kind of like it's all chaos in USC, and which was weird because coming in, it was like, yo, like this might be the year USC kind of like finally turns it around based off what happened last year. But it just proves to you like you still can't trust some of these teams that like showed promise in these COVID years in that COVID year last year. Now you get back in the real nitty gritty. And like Utah is a sleeper in the Pac 12 every year. And they're in like their perfect little stretch where no one's talking about them, Like the way I see Utah is they're very similar to Michigan State. How they're just two really good football programs. Now they've had some down years, but whenever they are good, they're not the headliner, right? So when they have to come in and play these teams, sometimes they just beat them because they're the better team.
Well, yeah, I think the other thing too, especially why people aren't talking about him and probably still aren't talking about him, is that you had back-to-back losses at the beginning of the year at BYU, at San Diego State. Turns out that San Diego State is a pretty good football team, and so is
BYU, right?
BYU. So those losses are looking a lot better, quote unquote.
Well,
And
they're
now
not
it seems like
Pac-12.
Utah is kind of getting in the groove now.
I mean, like those two losses don't even affect their record in the Pac-12. So the Pac-12 is still open, even though Arizona State's playing really well. But I mean, that's a huge game this week too. That
Yeah,
might.
it's going to be a massive game. Like Utah being home for that could really pay dividends there, and whether or not they can win. Last game, UGA just destroys Auburn. Auburn was in the game the first drive, and then after that, Bo Nix played
But
like Bo Nix.
yeah,
Just couldn't get anything going. He was making mistakes, holding on to the ball for too long. It was funny. The announcers in that game were like, "Oh, well, he's playing too fast, dude. I think he's just jittery." Um,
I just don't think he's that good.
yeah, I don't think he's that good either. I don't think he's playing too fast. I just think he's just not good. He's never been comfortable in that offense.
It's his third year starting. The game should not be this fast at this point. He
Yeah,
should
it's
have.
just his pace, his that offense cannot find a rhythm. It seems like under Bo Nix, it's either Bo Nix goes out there and he makes some great plays and he looks awesome, or they suck, and it's never just they're putting it together. Um, and yeah, they got smacked. They got UGA towards the middle of the game with the mailman started just kind of moving the football. I mean, Auburn's defense was on the field for so long. Like eventually, they're just going to get gassed. They're going to
I mean, that's
like
but
just get beat
got a
down.
couple stops. I think that's how you beat UGA. Is that it depends. Like it depends if JT Daniels is playing or not. Like even if you're not a big JT Daniels guy, he's better than the mailman. Just he gives you more of a vertical threat. I feel like on top of their 8,000 running backs they have. But the way I think you beat UGA is first of all, don't play like Bo Nix. But if you're able to rip off somehow a couple big plays and take a lead, and let's just say you get us because I still don't think UGA's offense is that great.
It's
I
not. It's really
I
not that good.
I, I
They're
think
able to
offense.
kind of just beat teams because their defense is so good that
Yeah, I
your
think
defense has to stay on the field all game, and then you have like these massive tight ends and their massive offensive linemen just kind of beat you down the entire game to the point where you kind of just get bullied down the field a couple of drives.
yeah. I so like who because at one point this season, UGA it's not that UGA is not a talented enough team. Maybe on the defense, definitely on the defense, but not on the offensive side of the ball. Where like last year's Bama or LSU from 2019, where they're just going to be able to blow people out. Right? There's going to be at some point where a defense is going to stop them, and somehow someone's offense is going to make a couple plays and UGA will be down.
Well,
And
that should have been Clemson week 1, to be honest, right?
I,
Like
the fact,
Clemson got all the stops they needed. Their offense just sucked
yeah, the
and
fact
still sucks. Like it's not like it's gotten better.
UGA didn't even score an offensive touchdown that game.
So
So
I agree with you. Like this is a UGA team. Okay, they're gonna just beat up on the Auburns of the world and whatnot, but
Auburn's not
they've just yet to be tested offensively. And I agree with you in that if they played a team like the Alabama last year or like that LSU team, or even dude, dare I say some of those Oklahoma teams that kind of got like the one that got smacked by LSU. I think they might give UGA a run for their money just because they could fucking score.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, the one that got smacked by LSU, that defense was horrible.
yeah, that defense was terrible.
I mean, Jim
So
Rome
maybe
had
not.
a touchdown. So
Um, Regardless, like this offense hasn't been tested. And the other thing too, though, is that early in the game, one of Auburn's better players, Smoke Monday, great name by the way, He got
Yeah.
a targeting call, and after that, the matchup with the tight ends of Georgia is already annoying as fuck because you have these just there's that one tight end Bowers who's a beast. That guy's going to be a stud. And then you have this other tight end who's like 6'8" and he's massive. Like, so the matchup with the tight ends is already a nightmare to begin with. Then you lose like your best guy to put on one of those tight ends. So then at that point it was kind of just not game over, but then the UGA offense started to really get some rhythm and they were able to move the ball consistently.
Yeah. I
Other
I,
things,
I think
uh,
Ole Miss would be an interesting matchup.
yeah, I just think that the Ole Miss defense is just going to get bullied by that Georgia front up front. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just right now there isn't that other than Georgia,
I
and
mean,
they're like we've
no.
seen the obvious flaw of Georgia. Like there really is no fully complete team in college football right now. All these teams kind of have like a big flaw or red flag around them.
Mhm.
All right, so other than that, UMass stormed the field after a win against UConn. Beta move
Dude, I don't understand the rushing of the field for a team that hasn't.
in the toilet bowl.
Yeah, the toilet bowl. I get actually like their fans are probably just treating it as a meme. You know,
I mean, they like what? It's like their first win ever, basically. Like, and
pretty much. Like they're
it
like,
was against UConn. Like,
damn, you got a break, dude. They lose a heartbreaker to Vandy. Now you're losing the Minuteman. Like, come on, UConn. You gotta ground these games out.
and then lastly, it was funny if you watch the picks video. We were saying, dude, there's no way that New Mexico State doesn't cover. Well, we were right. It just took them until 6 seconds left in the game to end up covering. So
Yeah.
that was pretty funny. Let's move on to the NFL. Man, we spent a lot of time on college football, so we're gonna have to speed run this a little bit.
Okay.
Steelers beat the Broncos. It was a little bit of scare there at the end, but the Steelers kind of finally show up. I took the Steelers, so I guess I was expecting this to a certain extent. Ben Roethlisberger was able to kind of move the ball downfield. Steelers showed up. That defense looks to be back. Are we treating the Broncos now as frauds, or is like? I mean, I feel like we kind of both were never really in on the Broncos necessarily. So like, does this change your opinion going forward for either of these teams this game?
Uh, for me, more Broncos. You know, like he- this is what I thought was going to happen, right? They had everybody fooled 3-0, and it's just like I'm not believing in this 3-0 team. You know, I'd rather put my trust in the thirds. We can get in them later, but it's just something about the Broncos. I just don't think they're good. You know, they had a very easy 3-game stretch, and now you see them actually play against playoff French teams. They're not in the ball game. Like,
Well, I'll tell you what, a big problem for them was that just outside of Cortland Sutton, none of their guys could really win.
I mean, yeah, it sucks that also your first round pick and Jerry Judy is out. You know,
Yeah,
like
and KJ Hamler too. KJ Hamler was playing really well. I mean, Tim, like at the end of the game, Cortland Sutton ended up having a good game, and Tim Patrick's Day wasn't too bad. It's just for most of that game, they weren't showing up. Noah Fant did nothing, which is a big problem for that offense because a lot of that offense runs through Noah Fant.
mhm.
I think lastly, like they kind of needed to give Javonte Williams the ball more. He was a dude that when he
He
was
only got like
touching
10
the football,
carries.
he was. I mean, he broke off a big run early in the game, which is like the only reason the Broncos scored points in the beginning of the game. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know why they weren't kind of just forcing the Steelers to respect him by just giving him the ball more. He was really punishing our defenders, and I think it would have forced us to kind of commit to putting more guys in the box and being a little bit more aggressive towards stopping the run, and it would have opened things up for Teddy Bridgewater a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. I think he only ended with like 10 carries or something like that.
They just need to unleash him, dude. Just
Well,
stop
this,
the
like
holding them back.
it's the same thing I saw with the Colts last year when they had Jonathan Taylor. You know, I it took Marlon Mack to tear his Achilles for Jonathan Taylor to actually get some big reps, and then you saw what happened. Like it's kind of the same thing here. It's like, dude, Melvin Gordon's not good. He sucks. Like you traded up for this guy in the second round. Just run the damn ball. You know he's gonna break a run. Give this guy 18 to 20 carries a game. See what happens.
I mean, just especially in that game when the rest of your offense isn't working, when you give the football to him, like he's making things happen, just give the fucking ball. Like I was scared whenever he would touch the football as a Steelers fan. Like I'm just like, okay, as long as they keep doing this bullshit, uh, just don't give the ball to Javonte, especially in space, because he's punishing our guys. Your Falcons got a big win in London against the Jets. I'll tell you what, Matty Ice showed up and he was playing really well with a lot of his receivers banged up. Um, dude,
We
and freaking what's your corner?
Which one?
AJ Terrell
Oh, AJ.
has been phenomenal this year.
Well, yeah. Well, AJ started making those strides late. Now he's not going to get the respect like Trayvon Diggs is getting, who's in the same class because the Falcons suck.
Well,
But
also, like Trayvon Diggs making those really flashy interceptions plays, which are going to go on Twitter and shit.
yeah, but yeah, it's the Jets, right? But all in all, it was a good. Matt Ryan's the last 3 weeks, especially. I thought he's played really great ball. Still showing because he doesn't have the weapons. It was no Ridley, no Gage. You got his favorite target right now is Cordell Patterson. I thought Kyle Pitts was very impressive in that game on just he made that one-handed catch, but he was also stretching the field, and it was actually nice for once to see like, yeah, Arthur Smith. You might want to use your fourth overall pick. You saw that quick connection with Matt. On top of that, the defense made a couple plays, but all in all, great win. Should be 3-2. Now you're sitting at 2-3.
Yeah, but you're still in the season. You have the chip on your shoulder. And I think the last thing I want to say, it is against the Jets, but the Jets defense has been pretty good so far this season. Is that
I will say this, speaking on that, because I was kind of scared of the Jets would be able to get home against the O line. The O line didn't allow a single sack all game.
yeah, well that's one of the things I wanted to say is that like the O line and then Cordarrelle Patterson and Mike Davis, I thought like the three of them, which is kind of what you wanted when you got that Arthur Smith hire, right? Like, okay, he would fix a lot of the O line and some of the running attack problems, just kind of give Matt Ryan a little bit of help outside of him just carrying something that you really haven't had since Shanny left. Um,
Now it's not as sexy as
it wasn't set, but like it worked last game.
Oh
Cordarrelle
yeah,
Patterson and Mike Davis, like their combined stats, like the offense outside of Kyle Pitts flew through them and it worked. And you saw how much pressure it took off of Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan did what he needed to do in the red zone. Guys like Olamide Zaccheaus made that one big third down, and that's really all you want, especially in that game when your receivers are out. But like have the offensive line, the running attack with this dual-headed monster now with Cordarrelle Patterson and Mike Davis. Like, let's get this on track and let's see if it keeps going. It's been trending in the right direction, but let's see if we can do it against a harder team now.
yeah.
Saints beat the Washington football team 33-22. It's just every week you see a new Saints team. Washington football team's offense is still really struggling.
That was their defense.
Yeah, the defense is just not there. Panic button on the Washington football team?
100%. I like their defense hasn't showed up once this season, right? Like it seems like that. You have such great talent. Why are you allowing 30 points to back weeks too? Because the Falcons put up 30,
Mm-hmm.
and I like Taylor Heineke. I didn't see the football team beat the Saints this week, especially because the Saints lost last week too, right? So like what the Saints do, they blow a team out, lose, blow a team out, lose, blow a team out. Okay, so that's where we're at.
So they're losing this week. It's a lock.
It's a lot. They're losing this week, whoever they play. But yeah, I would hit the panic button on the football team. It's just, you're not the favorite to win this division, but you look how the Cowboys are playing compared to you. This is not the same division where you can just hope like everybody sucks. It looks like the Cowboys are actually kind of legit. So you're going to need to win more than 8 games this year. I'm sorry, NFC East fans, but I don't know. I'm just not a true believer in this team anymore. I like Gibson. I give him that. Like, I think Gibson and Scary Terry are two great players, but like you even saw Scary Terry get kind of shut down because, like, again, Saints secondary is still good with Lattimore and all them.
I think that was the biggest surprise to me is that this is one of the first games that we've seen Scary Terry really struggle and a team kind of able to just say, hey, we're actually willing to go one-on-one with Scary Terry. Terry McLaurin has been he's just religiously he's been getting double teams and he's even made guys pay. And like you saw against the Patriots, I think it was last year when they tried to put Stephon Gilmore one-on-one with him, it just didn't work. And he was able to make plays to the point where they had to double him. Um, that didn't happen this game. Here's the thing: I'm not going to necessarily panic on the Washington football team. I was never really in on them this season because like you just don't have the quarterback, and I like Heineke, but at the end of the day, he's just been a high quality backup to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Fact of the matter is that the Washington football team, it's both a good thing and a bad thing. You have one of the best rosters in the NFL, not just in the division, not just in the conference, in the NFL. So, like, A, you need a quarterback, but B, like, you just need the pieces to start flowing together, and especially just offensively, because I think if you get in a rhythm offensively, then that'll transition into your defense and not having to put the utmost pressure on your defense to just be insane. We saw that last year. It's just the defense was playing better, where the offense sucked in the beginning of the year. They were hanging around 500, and
I mean,
then
because
they
heads
started
down.
to put the pieces together. I think that that's going to happen this year, though. I think that the Washington football team, they're still going to struggle a little bit, but come mid-season, I'm going to look to see if they kind of flip the switch, especially if when Fitzpatrick comes back, because apparently he might be coming back pretty soon.
Well, that would be huge. I think first of all, just as a confidence booster for the team. But like they definitely trust Heineke because Heineke has proven he can play in the league. Now I don't think he's a full time starter.
No,
Don't
he's
get me
not.
wrong, but like at the end of the day, I think you do speak some truth into that. Like this is Ron Rivera. This guy he wins football games. He gets his team into the dance. I wouldn't be shocked if he somehow flips the switch. I I just like I want to see more out of this defense. I mean, like, I would be loving this front seven, but they're just not playing good. They're not getting to the quarterback either. They're just not getting there.
Yeah. Um. The funny thing is, is so confused on what the Saints are. To me, the Saints are like the barometer of whether or not you're a legit team. Because to me, the Saints are just an average team, like slightly above average team, because they're well coached. They have talent, but not a ton of talent. Um, their defense is still legit and can shut you down if your offense isn't playing well and if you
Yeah,
don't match up well. So, like to me, it's really not a surprise. Like if you're not a great team, you're gonna lose to the Saints, and if you're a great team, well, you can probably beat the Saints pretty easily.
yeah,
Um, because like I think you and I both agreed early in the season and now that the Saints are gonna be around 500. It's like a lock. Um,
yeah. I would agree.
Let's move on. Packers, Bengals. Dude, you
What a
talk about a team where two teams didn't want to win the game, like
yeah,
five missed field goals, like,
in a
and
row, in a row.
yeah, just what the hell? Um, Really weird game. To me, it's just the same problem with the Bengals because and it's weird because in the beginning of the season, I was saying obviously I didn't like the Bengals, definitely biased because I'm a Steelers fan. Um, but to me, what was going to separate the Bengals from either being a shit team between being a good team was the defense.
The defense
Apparently, that's
is good.
not true because the defense has been showing up and the defense has been great,
The
but
defense
the
is good.
offense is just so inconsistent. You can make an argument that the Bengals offense right now is like the most inefficient offense in football.
Which is so
If
weird
if
because
Jamar Chase wasn't there just making his
oh
one or two plays every game, this offense would probably be the worst offense in the NFL.
I don't think they're scoring touchdowns. Because that's the only way they score touchdowns is like, oh, Jamar, you're open, 50-yard bomb, boom, score. And then their defense goes out there and makes a play. Yeah, watching this game and watching that Bengals offense, it was really tough to watch, and especially on top of those missed kicks, man. Mason Crosby, what a day he like that. That'd be the worst day of his career, that every time. I was even screaming like whenever they finally kicked the game winning field goal. I was like, dude, don't kick it. You got to score a touchdown. Like there is no way we're about to go out here and kick like miss six. And McPherson too. He thought he won the game.
Yeah, that was hilarious. He
He
thought he
thought
made the kick.
he
Yeah,
hit
so for those who
the
don't
flag.
know, the Bengals kicker thought he hit like a game. Was it the game winner or was it a go
That was
ahead kick?
to win the game.
Okay, so he thought he hit a game winner. He starts celebrating. He missed. He missed the kick. He actually hit the little flag
Flag.
at the
Yeah.
top of the pole. And oh, dude, it's so funny. You see the replay because like him and the holder are celebrating. One of the offensive linemen is coming in like, yeah. And then one of the other offensive linemen like pushes them and they're like, dude, we fucking missed. Like, get out of here.
Get back
Oh,
on.
that was funny.
Yeah, that was really funny. That's when you get some of these coaches like probably like Nick Saban or something who would say like they don't understand why kickers are in the game. Like they don't like kickers.
Well, speaking of coaches, I mean, I've been saying it for a while. The Bengals start off the season great, but it's been defensively. Dude, to me, Zach Taylor's what's holding the team back. I'm
Mm,
gonna keep saying it. Like, if he proves me wrong, go ahead. But I'm sorry, you're supposed to be an offensive coach. I look at these Bengals games. You were gifted a win against the Vikings with all those penalties. Um, you could have easily won this one. I'm done. This Bengals team could be really dangerous, and especially with the way that their defense has been playing. But I don't think that they're going to be legit. I don't think that they're going to take the next step unless you have a legitimately good coach to lead this young football team. And I don't think that's it in Zach Taylor.
mhm.
Vikings, you talk about a wild game. I'll tell you what, there is not a Vikings game that isn't an absolute clown fiesta. So the Vikings beat the Lions 19-17. I actually have something to say about this game. Everyone's like, "Oh, well, oh, the Jags, not the Jags, the Lions, like it sucks, a heartbreaking loss and all that." I'm sorry, but the Lions did not deserve to be in this game. I understand it's a heartbreaking loss and whatnot. I feel for Dan Campbell, but like the Vikings were in control of this game the entire time. And if Alexander Madison doesn't have a really horrendously stupid fumble where you're
Yeah,
trying to run the clock out of your own 20-yard line, the Lions are losing this football game.
yeah. Well, ball don't lie, but yeah, like I, you talk about one team hard to figure out is the Vikings. Like I think they're just a team that plays down and up to their opposition is. Oh,
It's the freaking Kirk Cousins experience, baby. Like,
yeah, you're riding with it, whatever. But like,
listen. I've stayed away from the Vikings, and I'm going to continue to stay away from the Vikings. I have no fucking clue what the hell is going to happen in a Vikings game,
oh, I
and
don't.
you can't tell me you do.
No, you don't. You don't know what the hell they're going to give you because like. Start of the season, their offense scoring 30 points a game, defense giving up 30, right? Losing games. Now you're getting in these low scored grudge matches, like losing the Browns 14-7, losing to the Lions, but only scored 19 points against the damn Lions. Like,
Well, how about the kicking game too? One week you miss a 30-yard kick to win it. The next you're banging like a 55-yarder to win it. Like what the there is no consistency on any part of this team.
I
Like none.
a fun team to cheer for because you never know what you're gonna get. You know,
Dude, they're fun to watch on Red Zone. I tell you that much
yeah,
because it's just like, oh well, what the hell's happening in the Vikings this week?
like now, like you kind of spin zone it to where, like, when Brady was on New England all those years, you knew what you were getting, right? Like if you were a Patriots fan, you didn't have to watch until the first round of the playoffs.
A second round mainly.
Yeah,
Like
bye week. With the Vikings, you tune in every Sunday, you're going to get a football game. All
yeah,
right.
you get a new Vikings team every week.
Yeah, you don't know what the hell you're gonna get.
It's like you're opening loot boxes. Like, okay, what Vikings are we getting this week?
Yeah,
Titans beat the Jags 37-19.
doesn't shock.
Um
that was the game right after Urban Meyer got, you know, all that stuff come out, right?
Yeah, this I mean, the score line I think doesn't do this game justice because the Jags were in the game. Man, they just made so many mistakes, and the Jags defense is just trash. That defense is bad.
Oh, you want to talk about bad defense? Like I know, like the Jags only scored uh, 19 points, but that touchdown Laviska Shenault had where he broke like 8 tackles. Did you see?
Yeah.
I again, like the Titans, can you not tackle them? I understand you won by 18, and yeah, you won by
The score was a little bit larger than like
yeah.
that game was
It
closer
was
than people thought.
it was close in that first half or whatever, but the Titans being ultimately the better team is going to win that game like
Well,
hand.
the problem with the Jags is, man, you can't go one on one with the Titans, dude. That's what everyone has been able to line up and go and just play. Hey, we're gonna stack the box and just have one on one with the outside. I understand that AJ Brown was back this week, so like it's not like he did much though.
Yeah, no,
I just think that that's a huge problem because the Jags copied the same philosophy that everyone's been using against the Titans, and they just got smacked for it.
yeah, it's
I don't know. I don't know what to expect from the Jags because this is a team. It's like they show the flashes. They really should have won against a decent team like the Bengals. It's just the defense is trash, and they get in these periods of games where they cannot stop anybody.
yeah.
It's just guaranteed touchdowns. And offensively, they make so many mistakes. So we've just yet to see the Jags really put it together. I'm not. I've been staying away from the Jags basically the entire year. I'm going to continue to do so, but I'm holding firm. I think the Jags can easily turn it around. They're a young football team, and they do have talent. Uh, Eagles somehow. I do not understand
Also,
how. I do not. I don't know. I have no words to describe how the fuck did the Eagles win this game against the Panthers? How did they win? Eagles won 21 to 18. Dude, the Panthers should have won this game by 40 points.
oh,
They should have. What were you gonna say?
yeah. I don't understand this either because like dude, I mean, that was some classic Sam Darnold right there, right? That's like old
Yeah,
Sam Darnold for the Jets, and especially that second half. First of all, in the first half, they had a chance get a defensive touchdown. We hit on it earlier before we started recording. Like, dude, the hell? Like, it hit like 3 Panthers players, and it just ended up being a safety. Like, what are we doing?
yeah. It's one of those classic examples of like, dude, why are you trying to screw your own teammate? Like, if one dude just decided, hey, I'll get the ball, the rest of you guys just go block for me, like it would have been a touchdown. But they all fought, like all the teammates fought each other, and the ball ended up going out. But I agree with you, Sam Darnold. This, this is just the difference between college and the NFL. And I think that Matt Rule is going to learn it the hard way. Um, and like I watched that Nick Saban, It's a Football Life, and I mean, this is a reason why one of the main reasons why he went back to college football. It's like when he didn't get Drew Brees, he was like, "Well, this sucks. Like, we're not going to be able to really win a whole lot if you don't have a quarterback." And that's the
Yeah,
case with the Panthers right now. You cannot win in the NFL if you do not have a good quarterback. And there's prime example A, exhibit A right here. You have a game where your defense plays phenomenally. The Eagles could not move the ball for 99.9% of that game. The defense scored, I mean, they're the reason why you scored half of those points anyway.
yeah,
But
true.
because you do not have the quarterback, you can have all the talent in the world. If you do not have the quarterback, you will not consistently win games in this league.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear as day because like you see all these talented quarterbacks for these good teams, right? Like you get like a Chargers, like they take the next step because Herbert's a very talented quarterback, Josh Allen, and so on, so on. But then you see teams like maybe a Dolphins or like a Panthers team like that. You just you have a question mark at quarterback. We know you have a pretty good roster and you should be like winning some games, but like quarterback is your whole, and you're not winning games because of your quarterback play. I mean,
So yeah, there's no excuse for not winning that game.
yeah. First of all, that's a horrible loss too. Like that should have been a cakewalk. Like, and it was at home too.
It
Like,
was a cakewalk. It's like you the game. And I took the Panthers, and the game went exactly how you thought it was going to go. Like the Panthers they have a great matchup defensively. They're going to shut the Eagles down. You're going to have some problems with the Eagles' interior defensive line, and you're going to take some sacks. You're going to have some bad plays, but you just needed to not throw 3 interceptions and just keep giving the Eagles chances to win the game because Eagles aren't complete. They have good players. They're not complete trash. They're gonna score eventually if you give them enough drives and enough chances.
yeah, especially, and this is like the second full game without CMC, right? And you kind of see like the offense really like taking a hit from that too. You know, like DJ Moore got off to a great start, but you know that last game, I understand the Eagles still have players on that secondary make plays, but I think DJ Moore is great talent and he's a number one receiver in this league. But you see where CMC just possibly opens him up more because he's such a problem to deal with, and also for Sam Darnold, a guy that has made a career of throwing picks, right? CMC is a great little safety.
Yeah, I agree. Like with CMC, this offense is different. So the Bucks blow out the Dolphins. I thought the Dolphins would keep this game competitive. They did in the first quarter. I actually took the Dolphins first quarter money line, which ended up hitting.
Nice.
Um, but I like I don't think the Dolphins got their turnover, so their turnover streak is done.
Damn. Time to start a new one.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are questioning Flores. I'm just questioning the management, right? Like this is just the classic reason why I was fading the Dolphins in the offseason and still now to a certain extent. You had a slam dunk for the draft. You had a slam dunk to
For a
set
bit.
your team up in a spot to really succeed. And you kind of just got too cute with it and fucked it all up. And now you don't have your first round pick, and the Eagles are looking like geniuses. Um, I
Yeah.
think there's one thing you don't want to do with the Eagles, and that's tangle with the one thing that they've proven to be good at, and that's trade draft picks. You know, they have all those little data analyst guys. That's what they hang their hats on. Why are you fucking with them in that regard?
But
You
why?
you could have just chilled and had a great team.
Well, like, yeah. Again, it comes back to this, and we talked about it a long time ago. You got the third overall pick, right? Like, uh, just just take a damn player, and
Yeah,
then
just take Chaser Pitts. You had a walk like you had a home run that you turned into a double by fucking around, moving back to 12, and then trading your first to go back up to 6, and now you look like an idiot. You
yeah.
did the hard part of absolutely just destroying the Texans. Why did you fuck it up? Why did you have to be all cute? And now you're really, I mean, if you didn't like Tua, you could have either just
Go
full
take a
on
quarterback.
traded down and picked up a ton of draft capital, say, hey, we're going to do an experimental year with Tua and see what we got. Or you could go all in and just cash in and get a great roster. And you fucked it all up. Patriots somehow beat the Texans. I'll tell you what, the Patriots, it was a big scare for them.
Yeah.
Davis Mills had a pretty decent game.
He
I'll tell you what, the Texans coaches have done a really good job. David Culley and them just keeping this team competitive, right? If you're a Texans fan, you at least have a little bit of hope and whatnot that your team can kind of go out any given week and beat some of these really good teams. But once the Patriots started getting the momentum, it's no surprise that they ended up winning when they have Belichick and it's still a good roster.
I don't think Belichick is losing this Texans team, but again, like Davis Mills, like out of all the rookie performances so far, didn't he throw 3 or 4 touchdowns against Belichick? So
Yeah, he put up like 330. It was a little gimmicky. They had like a flea flicker and a couple busted coverages. But yeah, he played well. Like you got to give credit where credit is due. The neck has the best rookie
let
quarterback performance of the year so far.
yeah, the thing about the neck is, listen, everybody in the world knows he's not ready. He knows he's not ready to play, but they don't have
Mhm.
anybody else, so he has to go out there and play. And he made some plays. Now, like he's had some rough starts. Like look at that Thursday night game against the Thurs, but like hats off to him. I give him cred. Uh, Patriots though, like, come on now, 25 points. Texans, we're giving up 20.
22.
Yeah, 22 points to the Texans right here. Like,
I
I
mean, just the fact that they let the Texans get that far ahead is a little
it was
concerning.
what wasn't it like a 13-point lead or it was something
Yeah, something like
uh,
that.
Oh, this next game, dude.
So the Chargers beat the Browns 47-42. Man, I've there are a lot of people kind of turning on Baker after this performance, which I find a little bit interesting. You usually don't see that after your team puts up 42 points. Um, I want to get
I,
your thoughts on this game. Like, any outlook changing on the Browns from this?
okay, no, not at all. I still think they're a really good team. Got a great roster. Listen, I understand the Chargers, and maybe I slept on Chargers too much because I said Herbert was going to have a sophomore slump. I don't think he is. Like, I just think the dude's
Yeah,
like right. He's just a beast.
yeah, he's a stud.
But at the end of the day, you invested so much into this defense, right? Especially the secondary. I know, like, I could handle 30 points against the Chargers, especially if the Browns are going to put up 42, because the Chargers on the other side have a really good defense, coached by Staley, who's a great defensive mind, right? Nick Chubb was running like crazy. Baker Mayfield was having great success. And how do y'all lose this game? You were up the whole way. You were up 42-35 at one point, right? Uh, the, and then you had a bad PI. A lot of people said that wasn't a PI. That was a PI on the Browns. But there was one play that 3 and out to I think it was to like ice the game or something like that. They run two running plays on first and second down. Don't get anything, right? Just kind of like, okay, we've been running well with Chubb all day. Maybe we can get something. Then they put Kareem Hunt in. So I'm already thinking, all right, they're going to throw this ball right here. I don't think that was a design run. I think Baker called it dead and switched to a run right there at the line, and it just didn't work. Like, you got to make a throw in that. You got to extend the drive. You got to get this first down. You got to milk off clock, and that was just a bad play.
Yeah, this is a weird match. I mean, the Browns had a lot of busted coverages in the game. Like, don't get me wrong, Herbert played well, but you gave him like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, probably. And I mean, at the end of the day, everyone's going to be gassing the Chargers, but there is a clear way to beat the Chargers that was kind of exposed by the Cowboys, and the Browns took advantage of it. They just didn't really capitalize because their defense just fucked up. It's that the way that the Chargers play defense, because like, Brandon Staley with the Rams and now with the Chargers, what they want to do is they want to have a light box, but
Mhm.
yet still try to kind of mitigate your ground game. And if you do not have a good rushing attack, it works. And if you're not able to run the football against them, it's like, well, you're going to be fucked. And you've seen the Rams last year and the Chargers this year completely destroy defenses using this scheme. There are a couple really good articles on it. But on the contrary, you saw the Cowboys and the Browns. If you're able to have running success against this defense, you can control the football game and put up points. That's why I expected to happen. That's why I took the Browns. The Browns defense fucked up, but there is a way to beat the Chargers, and it revolves around being able to run the football against this defense, get them out of that too
Oh,
high safety
yeah.
shell, and it opens up everything.
Yeah, this team's not unbeatable. You can easily, the Browns should have won that game.
Yeah, they 100% should have.
They were up 2 scores at one point, and I don't really agree with Stefanski's call and you know that drive leading up before the Chargers like ultimately won the game.
Well, like the big topic too, though, that I saw on Twitter is like, are you concerned because the Baker just wasn't really able to do anything? It was a really ugly last drive for the Browns. Are you concerned about Baker really being that true franchise elite level quarterback, or is that just all noise?
I think that's just noise. I think that's bullcrap. It's just like like keep saying it. Cool. Like I think Baker's the type of guy. He's heard it before. That's not going to phase him. He knows who he is. Now, like, is he going to be as elite as like a Josh Allen or someone like that, or Lamar, or like guys who make plays like that? No, like you do need probably more of a complete roster around him. But I think at the end of the day, you had it. Now, I understand why there's a little bit of scare because this is 2 games this year, one against the Chiefs and one against the Chargers. Now, where Baker's had the ball last to make a go lead a drive and go win the game, but I don't know. Like I still think I see 42 points. Like you should damn win that game. You know, I'm not putting
Yeah,
that.
I think too though. like that the argument is overblown. Like, oh, yeah, drives to win it. Like, I think it'll come. Like, if he's playing well, if he's going out there putting up
I
42 points and putting up 30 points, like the final drive will come. Like, I'm not going to
yeah,
judge someone off of
well,
one
I
drive.
just like David Njoku had a really good game, but like you know Odell, like has he ever had a good game for the Browns? Like this dude ever going to show up? Like
Yeah, they're missing Jarvis Landry.
I was about to say, like Jarvis Landry, especially on these last drives, just someone that Baker has a relationship of, like in the past. Like Odell and
And they
him,
won't drop the damn ball.
yeah, like him and Odell might be like friends or whatever. But I know at the end of the day, Baker's going to choose Jarvis at the end of the day because, like, they just have a better connection. I like
Mm.
Odell might be like to me one of the most overrated receivers of all time. Like he's like like
I
cool.
wouldn't go that far, but it's just it
Yeah,
hasn't worked
yeah,
so far this season.
yeah, but like I mean, he hasn't performed as a Brown. He's either hurt or getting 4 catches for 40 yards. Like, dude, like you're not getting paid to do that. Like, I understand receivers kind of tough. Like, you can only do so much when you're target, but like you're Odell, right? Like at one point you were that looked at like to be the next top receiver of this league. Like when
Mhm.
going on for the Giants. Like, what happened with you, dude? I don't think like that gets talked about as much. That just simply, I don't think Odell's good. I,
Mhm.
I I think the media's got him fooled to where like every time Odell takes the field, they got to show a highlight of him catching that one ball with the Giants his rookie year. I think he's
Yeah.
got everybody fooled. I don't think he's a good player. I mean, he's a good player, but like I don't think he's all that.
All right, I disagree with you a little bit, but that's fine. Let's move on. Bears beat the Raiders. I think the Raiders just kind of came out flat with the whole Gruden situation happening.
Yeah,
The Bears are able to capitalize on that.
they had to know before
Yeah.
the Gruden. So yeah, and again, like Bears defense, like there's a couple of weeks in a row where you see the Raiders like really struggling to move the ball. Is that could just be drama in the locker room dealing with Gruden? Like just everybody's like not on the same page. But Bears defense is still relevant though. Yeah, that's a couple of showings in a row.
Jalen Johnson has been really good. He's a guy that I liked. I didn't expect him to be this good. And I think lastly with the Raiders, man, this connection with Derek Carr and Darren Waller just kind of hasn't been there. I do expect it to at least I don't really know what's going to happen now with the Raiders, but I think that connection will improve and their chemistry will improve.
Is not.
The thing is I'm still not sold on the Bears at all. Like
Oh no,
you
this game
played well, the defense kept you in, but it's
not
just
like
one of these like this is not surprising if you've watched the Raiders a lot before.
oh yeah, no. Like the Raiders will look like a Super Bowl team, one week and then next week can't beat Justin Fields. Again, I'm gonna throw that more to like that was maybe dealing with the Gruden noise, but I don't know. Something's got to get going. Who's their interim? Is it going to be knockoff
It's
McVay?
the special teams guy.
Okay, and maybe
Um,
get behind him. I
yeah,
like
maybe. I'm really curious to see how the Raiders respond to the whole situation.
what?
Cardinals beat the 49ers. Sorry, we just got to move on, Steve. We're running out of time here.
Yeah,
Cardinals beat the Niners 17-10. Kind of a snooze fest going on here. I mean, a lot of people kind of expected some fireworks. One thing I will say, I mean, the 49ers offense just kind of struggled with the rookie quarterback. And I thought that Shanahan could have done a better job putting less pressure on his rookie to like kind of go out there and just outduel and completely beat the Cardinals. But at the same time, I think that we saw a little bit of flaw with Kyler Murray and the Cardinals offense again, where it's like kind of a similar thing. Like the Cardinals offense from last year to a certain extent reared its ugly head where it's like if
yeah.
you're not if Kyler Murray's not making these crazy splash plays and ridiculous plays happen that they're not able to like be boring and just drive the ball methodically down the field and put up like 24 points. Like this is definitely more of a scare than I think it should be considering how the 49ers offense played.
Oh yeah, the 49ers offense looked terrible, and honestly, it could have gone either way. If you remember, Trey Lance had a chance to score a touchdown. He had a man wide open, and he just decided to keep it and try to dive for the end zone and got stopped like at the 1 yard line or whatever it was. Like I think that's just a rookie mistake. But yeah, you know, good for Cardinals because you can look at this and say we're still 5-0. We're in front of the West. Like you beat the 49ers. You know you play the 49ers tough. But at the end of the day, you know this 49ers defense is going to show up. So I'm not entirely too shocked of the Cardinals struggling to move the ball against this 49ers defense because I mean it is still a solid unit. But yeah, like I think it is a little bit of a scare to see the Cardinals only score 17 points. It's like, all right.
I'm just kind of coming at it from the perspective that it's a win in the win column for the Cardinals. And I think that, especially from a gambling perspective, like the Cardinals, people are still going to be high on them and treat them like as they're like one of the top two teams in the league. But to me, this was not a good performance from this team. It's a win. It's not a bad performance. It's just it's cause for concern to a certain extent. If you are supposed to be a top two team in the league and the 49ers come out and Trey Lance plays the way that he does and the 49ers offense plays the way that they do, you should win this game by 2 scores. This should have been a 2-score win for the Cardinals.
Then again,
And I'm just gonna be wary of, is this gonna happen again? Because this is what happened with the Cardinals last year, and a big reason why they weren't that elite team that we think they are now.
yeah, this game makes it seem like they're not, top two teams. Like, because I can name you some one-loss teams right now that are better looking than the Cardinals, right? So at the end of the day, I just see it like maybe it was just off day for everybody. Just you grinded out a win, good, get out of there. Division game is tough, get out.
Yeah. The Cowboys just blow the doors off the Giants. Daniel Jones goes down. Mike Glenn on the other neck comes in. Plays like shit, to be honest.
Oh, played horrible.
Cordera's Tony look good, but dude, there's something to be said. The Cowboys are just blowing teams out left, right, and center.
But like, and you got to remember, Giants lost Saquon too again.
Yeah, I
So
mean they're banged up. They've lost so many players to injury.
I
But
mean,
I don't think this is. I think even with those guys, this is going to be a 2-score win for the Cowboys.
really,
Yeah, I really.
the
I
Giants.
didn't like the Giants. I liked them at the beginning of the week, but as I look more at the matchup, I was thinking like, dude, this is going to be a 27-14, 27-13 kind of a game. Ended up being a 44-20 kind of a game. The game kind of just got out of hand once the injuries happened and Mike Glennon was going out there and throwing picks, but nonetheless, it's a 2-score loss for the Giants.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But Cowboys keep rolling though. They're looking good.
Yeah, they look really strong right now. Bills really, really great performance against the Chiefs. What's going on? So are you panicking on the Chiefs now, or are you thinking it's just a little bit of a rut and they're going to turn it around here now that we're approaching midseason?
I'm not worried about the offense for the Chiefs because at the end of the day, they still have too many playmakers. Dude, that defense they have is horrible.
Yeah,
That
I mean they can't pressure anybody.
they can't get that secondary gives up big play after big play after big play, and it's just you know I don't know. They have to figure out their defense before anything. Like we knew the Bills are like the more complete team coming in, right? Because like they finally got back to playing great Bills defense like years past, and and Josh Allen and this offense is almost averaging 40 points a game beyond that Steelers defeat, right? So I'm not panicking though, because like I you asked me if I was panicking on the football team. Yeah, I'd be more worrisome on that. It's still the Chiefs. This is Andy Reid. This is Patrick Mahomes. Call me when if they're like 2-6, right? Now I don't know if this is going to be a team that's going to be a win the division or be a 1 seed. I still think this is a playoff team though.
Dude, you want to know what's funny that I just thought of? The Chiefs right now are a glorified Seahawks.
You think so? Oh,
Defense can't do anything, and you're just relying on your quarterback and your playmakers to carry you. I think the big problem with the Chiefs right now. Okay, yeah, the defense is a problem that needs to improve, but this is a team that desperately needs to be able to control the football. And I
No,
think the way that you do that isn't by saying, "Oh, Patrick Mahomes, start dinking and dunking more." I think the way that you do that is by somehow getting a consistent running attack. If
yeah.
if you're
Well,
if a team is going to line up against you and just go two high safeties all day and say, "Go ahead, dink and dunk it, run the ball," and you're not able to dink and dunk and run the ball, well, that's a problem because like Patrick Mahomes is great. Patrick Mahomes can carry you. But to a certain extent, there's only so many plays and so many times that Patrick Mahomes can go in unfavorable situations and just Patrick Mahomes his way out of it.
yeah.
And you've seen Patrick Mahomes this year. No one wants to say, but this is the worst that Patrick Mahomes has been playing by Patrick Mahomes standards. I'm not saying he's playing bad. It's just you saw in that Bills game, he missed a wide open Travis Kelsey during
Yeah.
that game for
For
a big play. When have you ever seen Mahomes do that?
Yeah, you never do. It's just something's like a little off, and it's funny that you bring up the Seahawks because you know what this team kind of reminds me of, or starting out to be. Do you remember that Seahawks team that lost that it lost in the Super Bowl to the Patriots to Malcolm Butler that next year?
Mhm.
Similar
Who
stuff.
doesn't?
Yeah, well, the Seahawks fans don't, but
They'll try not to.
yeah, but other than that, like I remember that year coming back, they started out sluggish too. Like they were around the same way where they were like 2-4 or something. But you know what they did? They figured it out. They rattled off like 6 or 7 wins in a row. I think the Chiefs could do the exact same.
I think it's a good, a team. They make the Super Bowl 2 years in a row. You're not that you're necessarily exposed in the Super Bowl because I don't think the Chiefs are exposed. It's just clearly there is a sort of a blueprint out there on not necessarily how to beat the Chiefs, but how to be in the game. Because I mean, you look last year, right? I mean, you mentioned it. The Chiefs haven't been a good team against the spread, and they haven't been winning games sexy. It's just Patrick Mahomes and that offense is so good that they're able to just stay in games and eventually pull it out at the end. That's why I think the Seahawks comparison is nice because that's just kind of what Russell Wilson's been doing. And I mean, let's just see what happens later in the season if they keep on losing to teams that have a similar talent level, like teams like the Ravens and the Bills, if they kind of keep coming up short. And to be honest, they're lucky that they won against the Browns week one, especially looking back at it
Oh,
with that punt. That should have been
yeah.
another loss.
Yeah, they could be easily 1-4.
Speaking of a team that is 1-4, the Colts lose to the Ravens 31-25. Man,
That's a bad loss. That's tough.
you look back at that game. I mean, first off, you got to give hats off to Lamar Jackson. He is freaking Houdini out there, somehow pulling wins out of his ass against really good teams. Um, you just look back at that game and you really got to question how the fuck did the Colts manage to lose that?
That's
I
the thing when you blow big leads, right? It just kind of escapes from you. You're like, how the hell did we just lose that game?
I will say I think the refs definitely helped out the Ravens. I mean, that's been a common theme. I feel like I said every podcast. These home teams are getting a ton of
Mm.
really favorable calls. First off, you have the fumble in the beginning of the game where Owe is like 3 yards, not 3 yards, but like he was like a good 2 steps to me offsides,
Mhm.
and they didn't call it. And it's like, what the hell? And you saw they complained to the refs, and then the refs made a questionable call trying to like make up for it. Where I thought, oh wait, time this now. It's just a fucking clown fiesta. And then you have the one where on the lateral, where it's like, I don't even know. Did they call that a forward? I don't know what the. How was that not a touchdown? I don't understand.
I don't know.
Um, so like a couple of bad calls, then the blocked field goal, and then Rodrigo Blankenship with the hip injury, missing the field goal. It's like enough stuff just kind of compounded, and then Lamar just going crazy, and they win the game.
Lamar, so that was, a lot of people are go ahead and give him the MVP to Kyler. Do not look past Lamar. I think he's having just as crazy year. Look at some of these primetime games he's been playing in.
I mean, dude, every Lamar literally is just carrying, and you look at every single one of his statistics is up from that MVP year. He's
Yeah, like the question of Lamar being not a passer should have just went out the
I mean,
window.
that was over against the Chiefs, right? Like,
If there was any doubt in anybody's mind, dude completed 80% of his passes, threw for 400 yards. He's the first quarterback to ever throw for like 80%, the 400-yard mark, plus 4 touchdowns, and rush for an additional 50 yards. Like Lamar has. If Lamar was, I heard this stat the other day on the radio. If Lamar stats were set alone and you put it against other teams' offenses, he would rank 15th in the league by himself.
yeah, it's insane. The guy's insane.
He's
Like,
better than half of the team's offenses by himself.
yeah, I mean, fuck, it's weird too because it's kind of hard to point at a specific reason as to how and why the Colts lost. It's tough to just blame their defense because, dude, Lamar went out there and he just made good plays. Like,
Yeah, you
he
got
made plays, and offensively, yeah, in the second half they definitely could have done better. But let's not act like Carson Wentz didn't have a pretty damn good day on the road,
I thought he
and
played
that
fine.
Jonathan Taylor wasn't doing well, and like they couldn't run, like they were running the ball well. Just one of those unfortunate games. They had the chances to win. Maybe it was special teams is the big reason why.
Maybe so. It could have been the reason why they got bit in the ass. Just a crazy game. Sometimes you just got to scratch your head when you blow almost a 20-point lead, you know?
Yeah, and also just like fuck the Colts. I'm undefeated on my dog of the week, not picking the Colts, and they should have won this week. That was a plus 250 that should have been in the bag for me.
Yeah.
Um, all right, this episode went really long, but if you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Hit us with a subscribe on the YouTube. Picks. We're gonna be recording. Steed, you around Friday? What's going on
Yeah.
Friday?
Yeah, it'll be good Friday.
Are the Braves playing on Friday?
Play Saturday.
According to JT, Lamar already has over half the amount of passing yards he did in 2020. Yeah, that's fucking insane. Um, Shout out JT. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Peace out.